What's going on, guys? It's Devontae back with another episode or installment of the Artificial Struggle, Our Struggle by Our Own Design. Today, as you've read, I want to talk about the most important word that I believe exists in the English language. If I were to ask you to guess it and make you wait a couple seconds longer into the video to insert an ad, it would be a classic example of it. It's called leverage. Its importance not only lies in its utility, but also in the awareness of it or lack thereof. That's just a fancy way of saying that even if you don't use leverage or you're not aware of it, it's being used on you, whether you know it or not. Some examples of that are banks for loans, credit card companies for interest, politics, or they're leveraging your attention, your vote, law. All these different instances and examples of institutions or people using leverage. The most closest one to you outside of relationships, because we'll get into that, might be your employer. Employers leverage the fact that you need to make an income against you. So in negotiation, they have a very big talent pool. And even though there might be a less qualified person, if they're willing to take less money, that is just sometimes a gamble that certain positions, most positions I would argue, most companies are willing to take, is they will leverage their talent pool against your application and give that job to someone for less money. A great example of this is in the tech space for offshoring. A lot of companies send jobs overseas because it's cheaper. And not even just in the tech space, in a lot of spaces that's the case. So one of the most famous books that are going to give you an insight into this thing called leverage or possibly even manipulation is the famous book by Robert Greene, The 48 Laws of Power. Every guy in his 20s wants to read this book and live by it when they work in finance, in business, and I don't fucking know, insurance, whatever the case may be. Tech bros are on the rise right now, watch out. And I think it's being misused, misunderstood, because that to me, I haven't read the book from front to back, but that to me, that book, that collection of information is more about awareness of the manipulation, of the power dynamics, of hierarchies that exist, more so than the utility of it. So this video is more about the awareness of leverage being used against you, more so than the utility of it. It's good to learn how to use it because it exists. So a great job analogy that I have is if you don't like your job. That's a common theme that not only comes up on social spaces, but even in my channel or some of my mutual channels, is that people not liking their job. It's a common thing. The reason that people don't like their jobs and dread it to the degree that they do is because they're being leveraged. What do I mean by that? They don't have the necessary resources, connections, and or skills to leave it. What do I mean by that? Say you're making $20 an hour. If you're leveraged by credit, by your landlord, by medical debt, by your car note, and you're incapable of leaving a certain job that's paying you that $20 per hour to get another position because you don't have the resources, connections, and or skills, that job is being leveraged against you to do whatever it is they ask, no matter how much you like or dislike it. So you're stuck there. That is leverage. And people can relinquish control and give up leverage by continuing to get in more debt, not increasing their skills, not building up their resources, hoarding, investing, saving, and not making connections. So ultimately, resources, connections, and skills are what give you options, which increases your leverage. That's why it's the most important word in the English language, in my opinion. There are people who say they work for passion, but you can't help a damn thing without money. There is help you can do, but think about it like this. The most important people who will be remembered are not the greatest employees, but the CEOs, the business developers, the actual creators that gave birth, gave life to the business that built 10,000 jobs for people to have. You might be employee number one, but you'll never be as valuable as the person that creates the job. Leverage. So net worth can equal leverage. Having a positive net worth. Owning more than you owe is great leverage. You can walk away from a lot of opportunities and jobs or situations that you don't like, which gets me into my last point, which is relationships. Relationships are also actively deploying and experiencing leverage in real time. A great example of this is the guy or the girl, which we see a lot of, especially in 2025, because dynamics are changing, is the girl or the guy that does not care as much as the other one. One is more head over heels, one is more involved. That person that is less involved, less a part of it, what I like to call pimping, has more leverage. They have options, they have resources, they probably have more charisma, they probably have more charm, they probably have more options, connections, people to get them those options, and skill, which would be probably charisma. Charisma would probably fall under skill. Less invested. That's a very shallow way of thinking, but you have to remove your feelings out of the conversations of leverage because leverage is about self serving, if we're being completely honest. But the issue with not understanding being selfish is that you cannot give until you have. So you have to be selfish in order to get leverage. It doesn't mean that you don't help, because a good way to get leverage and build connections is by giving. There's a popular video by Alex Hormozy, a concept where he says you give 8 times before you ask. That is a great way to increase leverage. Some people say, well, that's pretty shallow to give in order to ask. I'm like, no, that's the perfect thing to do. Think about it. You give somebody a ride home 8 times and then you finally ask them for some lunch money, I don't know, or some gas money. Well, they should have been giving you gas money anyway. But you ask them for anything, they're more inclined to give. That's leverage. People might say it's evil or it's morally gray, but the issue is more so with you not having it than your ethical concerns about it because it is being used on you. What I like to do is help you understand with a visual what having leverage feels like. So with leverage, you can leave a job. You can leave a job. Without leverage, you dread going in. I'll just put dread. You feel dread. With leverage, you can pick your partner. Without leverage, you hope for the best. With leverage, you get better interest rates. I know this sounds like fucking lame as hell, but I mean, it's true. Without leverage, you get high. I'll put IR, interest rates. You kind of get in the picture now? Leverage is the most important word in the English language, and I've given you several reasons as to why. Do you agree or disagree? And I want to know, if you answer that question, do you think you have any? You have to answer both.